What is Ripple saying about the Ripple SEC case? They say if they lose, we're going to the Supreme Court, baby, all the way. That article and a couple other Ripple XRP articles, and of course the US government coming in and saying mining is just garbage. We're going over those articles today in OG Crypto and NFTs. Welcome everyone. My name is Troy, and today with my producer Emi, who doesn't want to be seen today, we'll go over the best articles possible. But first, before we get into it, we're going to hit that subscribe button. Boom, 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 boom. You're a little late there, girl. All right, let's jump right into it. We're gonna go over Brad Garlinghouse, who yesterday or day before was on Bloomberg, and he was gonna go over what he thinks about crypto regulations in the United States. Guys, listen up. It is so important what he says. He nails it right on the head. Gary, are you listening?
The SEC bringing the case against Ripple was not really just a case about Ripple or about XRP. It's really about the industry and how the SEC is kind of playing offense and attacking the whole industry. 2.5 years ago when this started, I'm not sure everyone fully digested that, and now that is widely understood. This is going to be pivotal for the whole industry, because if the SEC is able to prevail, I think there's a lot of other cases, and some of them just in the last 4 weeks, I think they brought 5 additional enforcement cases. The macro headline for me is this is not a healthy way to regulate an industry. Your regulation through enforcement, as opposed to where we're seeing in other countries where they're doing the work, right? They're codifying, they're creating a framework that allows an industry to grow while protecting consumers. And I think that's really what the U.S. is lagging. And to some degree why I'm here in Washington is to continue to try to evangelize and educate. Here's how these technologies can really benefit consumers, benefit industry.
Is what I'm hearing from you essentially, if the U.S. doesn't get its act together and move more quickly, all of this is going offshore. It's just going elsewhere.
Well, it already is. I mean, the sad reality is that the U.S. really is already behind. This is not behind countries that we haven't necessarily heard of. This is behind Australia and behind the UK, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland. There's a lot of countries that have taken the time and thoughtfulness to create that clear rules of the road. By contrast, when I first got involved in the tech industry in the late 90s, some were saying the internet should be banned. They were saying, like, here's how the internet is being used for illicit purposes. But the U.S. government said, no, we're going to create a framework. And that allowed entrepreneurs, that allowed investors to come in and look at the benefits to the United States on a geopolitical basis to have the Amazons and Googles based and headquartered in the United States. We're at, I think, severe risk of having that not happen in this next evolution of technology around blockchain and crypto. It has already started moving outside the United States. And also, the consumers are suffering because of that, because you don't have the same protections that the U.S. regulatory frameworks can provide.
So I think what Brad Garlinghouse is saying here, and obviously what we've been saying over and over, is the regulator is the problem. They're not the solution, nor have they put as I'm quoting Brad here, the rules of the road are not clear. In fact, they're not clear for several different reasons. I believe the U.S. is behind because they're holding up the train for the banks and the financial institutions that need to get involved. Otherwise, those financial institutions will be left behind, and it will make the United States left behind. But with that being said, the innovation is going outside, and because they're so far behind in this, that there's just going to be that tug of war. The problem is, and as we get into kind of the next tweet here from Stuart Alderoty, he says, Ripple Chief Legal Officer blunts advice for crypto firms, get out of the U.S. Gary, this is what you're causing. This is so funny listening to some of the blue team say that, hey, crypto is all bad, and all the money and laundering and all the illegal things are happening with crypto. It's happening with your dollar. And the reason why it just isn't regulated is because the regulator can't figure it out, or he's actually getting his strings pulled by some higher entity in which all those people are getting paid by and to run the narrative. I think the financial institutions, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Blackstone, they are all behind. They have to figure out how they're going to fit in this system or they're going to be left behind. And with that being said, that's why we continue to see the regulator try to put the brakes on. And now more and more people are fighting. See, the difference is in the last 50 to 100 years, the regulator didn't have the internet and the amount of people and information being transported instantly. So he was the bully on the block, right? Now you have information being transmitted at the second, and you can research anything on the internet or on the deep web, wherever it's there. So now what comes out of his mouth is now going to be fact checked. And now Gary's in a bad situation. Now, instead of just bullying Ripple and trying to get them to slow down, stop, or kick them out of the United States, he now has to go fight them. And when you fight them, you have a lot more people on your side with information. That's why John Deaton got involved, right? And when he got involved, he took 75,000 plus XRP holders all over the world where only the United States has an issue with XRP as a security, and now he's telling the judge, well, everywhere else in the world doesn't have it, and you can't even connect the dot, saying that a line of code, which is a token, is a contract between Ripple and whoever the token holder is. It doesn't make any sense. If we rewind this 20 years ago, prior to the internet, this regulator would have bullied Ripple right out of this country, no question. But since he can't, now he's getting fought back, and people are fighting back more and more and more. And now he's having bigger problems because he can't save his buddies, or there's going to be more people coming into this space that are taking more of the piece of the pie away from the people who are paying him allegedly. All right, so there's James K. Filan. He is the head of Ripple. He's the lead lawyer in the Ripple SEC case, and he says it easy. He says Ripple files letter regarding recent Supreme Court case that supports Ripple's fair notice defense. So what's a fair notice defense? It means that the SEC has to give you notice in advance that you're doing something illegal. Now, Ripple continue to meet with the SEC over and over. In fact, I think they met with 4 different commissioners. 4. Only Jay Clayton was the one who brought this on because, as we're finding out through the Information Act, right, that we know that him and Bill Hinman, who voted yes to go sue Ripple, and that made the Bitcoin Ethereum free pass, that they went to different firms. The second they had this lawsuit against Ripple, they immediately left the SEC and went to other firms that promoted Bitcoin and Ethereum, but did not promote Ripple. Well, why? Why? Can you come up with a law out there that says that Bitcoin and Ethereum and how they structure their businesses is not a security? There is no law. So then we took someone's opinion, who we're finding out now, Bill Hinman got paid $15 million while he was at the SEC, when he was from his former boss, former law firm, and then rolls out of there and jumps on a bunch of boards for Bitcoin and Ethereum. This guy is getting sued. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Jay Clayton's getting sued too. There is absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts. Once we finish this, you will see lawsuits fly at these guys left and right. And I think there's going to be a lawsuit against the SEC for all the money that was lost because they overspec their boundary because there was no legal right to do this. There's no law that says that cryptocurrencies are a security. It's an opinion by, as I keep saying it, whoever's in charge of the SEC. That's opinion. Why wasn't the previous commissioners saying that crypto was a security? Because they didn't believe it. So it becomes opinionated. It's not a law. So it's not a different interpretation law. So that's my soapbox today. Let's jump to it. Like I said, Ripple's just ready to go. I mean, they're saying we lose at this level, we'll go to the next level. If we lose the next level, we're going all the way to the Supreme Court. They have so many different ways to win this case, and Gary can't have them win this case. He cannot have a judgment, even if it comes out and Ripple wins and then the SEC wants to take this on appeals. He already has egg on his face, and everyone's going to use the summary judgment against the SEC for overstepping their boundaries in so many other cases. So it only makes sense to put down and get together and say, hey, we got to put this under wraps. Let's go settle with Ripple so we keep this under wraps, and then I can continue to terrorize everybody else and help my buddies out. But that will also allow Ripple to get right into our financial system out here and then make banking fees, make transfers, make wires so much cheaper that they're going to have to comply. All the banks are going to comply. We already know that Ripple has a partnership with Bank of America, and they have a partnership with R3 Corda, and R3 is connected to Wells Fargo. So we're already knowing that this is going to change the banking system if we can get a settlement or a positive outcome of this case. All right. Next and lastly, U.S. lawmakers reintroduce a bill to force crypto miners to disclose emissions. Guys, this is all on Bitcoin's head, and it continues to be this whole narrative of having everything very clear. Non-carbon is going to come out. It doesn't make sense. It's just another way of pushing this offshore or out of the United States, just like Brad Garlinghouse said, just like James K. Filan, just like Stuart Alderoty. They're all saying the same thing. You're pushing crypto, the greatest innovation, the fourth industrial revolution, and you're going to allow companies out of the United States. I think the best line that Brad Garlinghouse said was, if we were to do the same thing 20 years ago, the innovation like the Amazons, the Googles would all have left the United States, and they would be these big conglomerates. This is one of the reasons why the dollar is still the world currency, and that the United States is dominant. It isn't because of our military might. It's because big companies like this stayed here. They're paying taxes. They're employing, hundreds of thousands of people in high-paying jobs. They're buying, they're helping the economy. It just trickles down to everything. And then we're having policymakers sit there and go, well, I want to follow the World Economic Forum all the way down that rabbit hole with Soros and all of their mumblings, and we're just going to go kill innovation here. So we become the hunted and not the hunter. That's what's happening. Guys, cue the flames. Oh, well, I guess the flames aren't going to happen. My producer Emi has not been able to burn this up. But guys, you guys have a fantastic weekend. You guys check us out on Monday through Friday next week. Take care. XRP Army, we're here for you, brother.